Lights, camera, action! Hello there, American Girl fans. My name is Maryellen Larkin, and I'm from the year 1954. I lived in Daytona Beach, Florida with my mom, my dad, my 17-year-old sister Joan, my 14-year-old sister Carolyn, my 6-year-old sister Beverly, my 4-year-old brother Tom, my not quite 2-year-old brother Mikey, and my dog Scooter. Say hi, Scooter. Woof woof. Big family, huh? I was the middle child, and I wanted to stand out. But it wasn't so easy in such a big family. If you live in a big family, then you know what I'm talking about. I like to make up episodes of my favorite TV shows like The Lone Ranger and imagine myself in those episodes. I never gave myself superpowers, but in my episodes, everyone paid attention to me, listened to me, followed my advice, and everything always turned out right. I had a best friend named Davy who lived just next door. We'd been friends forever, and we did everything together. Another thing about me is that I once had polio when I was younger. One of my legs is a little bit weaker than the other one, but I've never let my legs slow me down. I also like to sketch, and my favorite movie star is Debbie Reynolds. My story begins in August, before I started 4th grade. My mom had called a family meeting. She announced that her friends Betty and Florence, whom she had met in an aircraft factory during World War II, were coming to spend the night with us. Mom had been the boss of the whole assembly line when she worked at the factory. Joan asked where Betty and Florence were going to sleep. I came up with an idea, but I didn't get Mom's attention at first. When I did get attention, I said that they should sleep in Joan and Carolyn's room. Joan and Carolyn would sleep with me and Beverly in our big room, and Tom and Mikey would sleep in my parents' room. Mom thought that was a good idea. I added that after Betty and Florence left, Tom and Mikey could move into Joan and Carolyn's tiny room, so my big bedroom would be the all-girls room. Mom decided to give the all-girls room a try that night. It was a test for me to see if I could show that I can be tidy and responsible, since I wasn't very tidy or organized. I agreed to take the test. Carolyn gave me a plaid hand-me-down dress that she wore on her first day of 4th grade. I thought it was sort of old and worn out. I told my mom I wanted a brand new outfit for my first day of school and we should go shopping, but Mom said I didn't need anything new. After lunch, my siblings, Davy and I, went to the beach, so we would be out of Mom's hair while she scrubbed the kitchen floor. As we walked back home, I decided to come up with some way to make our house stand out from the other houses on my street, since all the houses looked the same. Then the idea came to me: paint our front door red. I also wanted to show off and get attention for myself. I started by painting the screen door red. Jerry, Joan's college boyfriend, arrived, and I tried to nudge him into marrying Joan, which made him speechless. But as I talked to him, I realized that I forgot to take the brownies out of the oven, and now they were burnt. Joan came outside the screen door and knocked me backwards. As I fell over Scooter and landed in a bush, the red paint went flying. It hit me, the front step, and Jerry. Tom turned on the hose and squirted water through the screen door, trying to put out the fire in the oven like a fireman. And at the same time, Mom came home. I sure wished I didn't have her attention then. I told Mom what happened. Mom was disappointed in me. I knew I had failed the all-girls room test. That night, Joan told me that Jerry gave her his fraternity pin, which meant they were engaged to be engaged. I was glad that a wedding was in their future now. Joan also said she thought she would tell Mom it was okay with her to make the all-girls room permanent. Later, I snuck out of bed and went to Davy's house. He used to say, "What's up, Doc?" when he saw me. It's a Bugs Bunny quote. I showed him the red paint mess. He immediately agreed to paint the front door and screen door red while I scrubbed the front step with turpentine. The next morning, Mom said that she liked having a red front door and pink front step. She was glad I had taken responsibility for what I had done, and I was forgiven. The next day, Mom and I went shopping at O'Neill's department store. There I found my poodle skirt, and I immediately fell in love with it. Carolyn gave me this pink blouse that I wear with it. Although we were not there to look at skirts, Mom allowed me to try it on. When she came into the dressing room, I told Mom I had also painted the door red for her too, because I thought that if our house looked special, her friends would be impressed and see how special she was. Mom said it was sweet of me to think of her. She also agreed to let the all-girls room be permanent. Then she told me that suddenly I was looking more mature to her, and she didn't think it was just because of my poodle skirt. The more she looked at me in it, the more she thought it suited me. She said it was quite grown up, just like me, and we could buy it. That made me so happy. On the morning of my first day of school, I wanted to look right when everyone looked at me. I wanted to look exactly like Debbie Reynolds, so I cut my hair to give myself bangs. Big mistake. My bangs were terrible. They stuck straight out from my forehead like a tutu on a ballerina. They were spiky, too. Well, of course they're fine now, but boy, they were bad. And was Mom surprised when she saw them? When I got to school, I saw that my friend Karen was wearing a black and pink poodle skirt that looked exactly like mine. She had been inspired to get one after she saw mine. I had wanted to stand out as the one and only girl in the 4th grade who looked like a movie star, and now I couldn't. But when I found out that another girl named Patty was wearing a poodle skirt too, I felt better. In fact, all 3 of us sang a song together and did a dance as we sang. It was quite fun. But in class, my teacher, Mrs. Humphrey, could not get my name right. She was forever calling me Carolyn and Joan because they had had her too. At lunchtime, I drew a picture of Mrs. Humphrey on a napkin. She was frowning and pointing her finger like Uncle Sam. She was saying, "Carolyn, Joan, Maryellen, whoever." Under the drawing, I wrote in capital letters, "This means you." A mean boy named Wayne took the drawing, but Davy was able to get it. Only for Mrs. Humphrey to come over to us, see the drawing, and I got in trouble. I blamed Davy for getting me in trouble, and Davy stopped talking to me after that. The next day at school, Mrs. Humphrey announced that we would be having a class geography bee at the end of every month, and the winners would get prizes. That was good news for me, since I liked geography. My handwriting wasn't very good, and Mrs. Humphrey noticed. After I ate my lunch, I went back to my classroom for lunch bunch. Mrs. Humphrey gave me a composition book. She had an idea for me to draw pictures of objects and write their names in English to make a dictionary for a new girl in my class from Italy named Angela. I agreed to do that. It was fun working with Angela, and pretty soon she was teaching me how to say the words in Italian, which I loved. We became great friends. She even gave me a headband to hide my terrible bangs. I hugged her, and she hugged me back. We became such great friends that both my friends named Karen were jealous of me spending so much time with her and didn't like hearing me talk about her. I pointed out to Karen that I didn't like her copying my poodle skirt idea, and in the end, I wasn't friends with the Karens anymore either. But when our first class geography bee rolled around, I became friends with the Karens again. After me, Patty, Davy, and Angela helped Karen answer the name of the country Mrs. Humphrey wanted her to name on the map, which was France. Our prizes for winning were ball-shaped yo-yos that had a map of the world on them, just like a globe. When December rolled around, my family and I were decorating for Christmas when we got a phone call from my grandpop. Grandpop had been sick, and now he wasn't quite up to taking the train to Florida to visit us for Christmas or the holiday hoopla, so he and my grandmom thought it would be best if they stayed home in Georgia and had a quiet Christmas. That really crushed me, but my family and I had a fun Christmas tradition. On Christmas Eve, we would go to O'Neill's to do some last-minute shopping and get ice cream. Then we went to the beach. Jerry came with us, too, and helped Dad build a bonfire. We sang Christmas carols, and Dad read "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" to us. Then, on Christmas morning, we went to a sunrise church service on the pier, and for breakfast, we had Grandmom's coffee cake and juicy Florida oranges. Pretty fun tradition, huh? Except that year, I wanted to have a snowy Christmas for once. We only used spray on snow from a can in Florida. I wanted to have a Christmas complete with real snow and a real pine-scented Christmas tree. Our Christmas tree was an artificial pink tree with no scent at all. I also wanted a jewelry box that had a little ice skater in it for Christmas. After I got a Christmas card from Grandmom and Grandpop that had a snowy house on it, I decided that I wanted to spend Christmas with them so that I could see snow, be with Grandmom and Grandpop, have a real Christmas tree, and also ice skate on a frozen pond. Dad said he and Mom would discuss it. Later that night, Mom told me I could write to Grandmom and Grandpop, asking them if I could come. If they said yes, I was allowed to go and stay with them from Christmas Eve until New Year's Eve. I was very happy I had their permission to go. I would also have to raise half of my train fare, and Mom and Dad would pay the rest. I wrote to Grandmom and Grandpop that night asking if I could come. Just a few days later, Grandpop called and said they would love to have me. I was so thrilled. Beverly taught me how to ice skate on the carport. My train ticket cost $16, so I only had to raise $8 for it. I already had $6 in my change purse and $2.60 in my Christmas Club account. I didn't want to use that $2 from my Christmas Club account for my ticket because I used that money to buy my Christmas presents for my family, and I would only have 60 cents left over from that. Carolyn suggested I make my Christmas presents for my brothers and sisters. It had been my idea to make my parents' Christmas present. My brothers and sisters and I had dipped our hands in finger paint and pressed them onto a piece of poster paper to make a huge heart. Even little Scooter had added his own little paw print to it. I decided to take Carolyn's suggestion. The next day I went on a trip with Joan and Jerry. First, I took out my Christmas Club account money and bought my train ticket. Then we went to the Seaside Diner for dinner. Our next stop was the 5 and 10 cent store to buy the art supplies I needed to make my siblings Christmas presents. I made bookmarks for Joan, musical notes clothespins for Carolyn to prevent her piano sheet music from blowing closed or slipping off the music sheet holder, a cardboard crown for Beverly, a cardboard fire truck for Tom, a fat brown worm made from one of my old socks for Mikey, and I wrapped up a bone for Scooter. I left for Georgia the day before Christmas Eve. I had my very own roomette on the train, which was perfect. It had a sweet little sink with a mirror over it and 2 comfortable plush seats facing each other next to the window. I ate dinner with a nice man and woman in the dining car. They had a daughter the same age as Mikey. The seats in my roomette folded into my bed. It was a nice, cozy, starry bed. I arrived at the train station in Atlanta early the next morning and was happily greeted by Grandmom and Grandpop. And when I saw snow for the first time, it was just as enchanting as I had imagined. I loved the pine smell on the perfect Christmas tree I helped Grandpop pick out for us. Grandmom and Grandpop gave me Mom's old ice skating skirt and ice skates, which were perfect because they looked just like the little ice skater's outfit in the jewelry box I wanted for Christmas. And then I went ice skating, remembering what Beverly had taught me. But as I skated, I all of a sudden found myself wishing that my family could see me. I realized I had made a big mistake about wanting to visit Grandmom and Grandpop. It had dawned on me that Christmas is not about what it looks like, but how it feels. And it only feels real if you're surrounded by the people you love most in the world. At bedtime, my homesickness reached the breaking point, and I sobbed. Much to my surprise, Grandpa felt up to driving to Florida to spend Christmas with us. So we headed home with the Christmas tree I helped Grandpa pick out and a cooler full of snow. Everyone was so happy to see us. Jerry came over and proposed to Joan. She said yes. I'm so glad I didn't miss seeing the proposal. I also got the jewelry box I wanted for Christmas. It was a great Christmas. Now it's time to fast forward to the next part of my story, which begins in April. I was walking home from school with the Karens and Angela. I was talking about my 10th birthday. I celebrate my birthday in May. Karen asked me what kind of birthday party I was going to have. I wanted to do something new, something no one had ever done. A couple ideas were suggested, and then Karen asked me if I was going to invite Davy to my party. We still weren't friends again, so I said no. I decided to have a movie star birthday party with my guests coming dressed as their favorite movie star. I, of course, would be Debbie Reynolds. My friends loved the idea. But the next day at school, my class and I went to a school assembly. We watched a TV announcement on a small TV screen that said a man named Dr. Salk had created a vaccine to prevent people from getting polio. To me, that was wonderful news. So wonderful, in fact, that I decided for my birthday party we would put on a show. The point of the show was to encourage people to get the polio shot. We would charge 10 cents for admission and send the money to the March of Dimes headquarters to help pay for the vaccine for poor children. Angela said the show was an even better idea than my movie star idea. But as I read the script I had written for the show, my showmates became less and less interested in listening to it and only clapped half-heartedly when I was done. I was told the show was too long and needed to be shorter or funnier, and the songs I had written were the only good parts. Angela said that maybe the show needed more variety, and Karen agreed that it did need more variety, like the Ed Sullivan Show, with everybody doing different acts, like singing, dancing, juggling, and magic tricks. Karen and Beverly decided to do ballet. Carolyn decided to play the piano. The other Karen and Angela decided to sing and dance. Davy decided to do rope tricks. And Tom decided to do a puppet show with Mikey. I asked what I would do, and Carolyn said I could make a short speech about Dr. Salk and sing one of my polio songs. I decided that's what I would do. I wanted to wear the bridesmaid dress Mom was making me for Joan's upcoming wedding in the show, but Mom didn't know if it would be ready in time. Our rehearsals for the show did not go the way they should have. I was filling in any place in any act where anyone needed me for anything. I ended up getting so fed up with how things were going that I quit and said the show was off. But then I remembered the most important reason for the show, to fight polio. Dad was able to convince me to apologize to everyone and tell them the show was back on, which actually went easier than I thought it would. Even Davy and I chatted in the same friendly way we did when we were still friends. I even called Wayne and apologized, and he still wanted to be in the show too, doing his silly act behind me as I recited my speech and sang my song. That night I went downstairs to see how my bridesmaid dress was coming along. I saw that it needed to be hemmed and the sash needed to be attached. I decided to tape the hem up and safety pin the sash on so I could wear it in the show. After I got the tape, I saw Joan in the living room. Joan said that Mom was letting her wedding get out of hand. She wouldn't listen to her and Jerry when she said they did not want a big deal, and she wished she could tell Mom to stop. Mom heard what Joan said, and Joan explained to her what she meant by what she had said. Joan offered to let me wear her pink prom dress in the show tomorrow since my bridesmaid dress wasn't ready. I said I'd love to wear it. The show was a great success, and when I went to my room to put Joan's prom dress on, I found a surprise waiting for me. My bridesmaid dress was done. I slipped it on and it fit perfectly. But when I went on stage, I all of a sudden got stage fright. But much to my relief, Wayne actually helped me. Then he, my showmates, and the audience sang my polio song. Get a shot so you won't catch polio. The audience loved it and applauded. We ended up earning $3.20 from the show. A couple days later, I got a phone call from a Dr. Ozer, who told me that 5 children who had seen my show had come into his office that day to get the polio vaccine. He was calling to thank me. He also wanted me to make a poster about getting vaccinated after seeing one of the posters I made for the show. I agreed to make it. A few days later, I got another phone call from a woman named Betty Plotnick, telling me that the mayor of Daytona Beach wanted to invite me to ride in his convertible in the Memorial Day parade in recognition of my support for March of Dimes. Apparently, Davy had written a letter to March of Dimes about what I did, and his letter was forwarded to them. I was going to ride with the mayor in his convertible in the Memorial Day parade. There were signs on his car that said, "Maryellen Larkin, youngest March of Dimes fundraiser in Daytona Beach." This time I had no stage fright. I was smiling and waving, and my family and friends were there cheering me on. The parade was terrific. Then I had my picture taken sitting with the mayor in his car, which appeared in the newspaper, and it felt absolutely great to be famous. On the last day of school, I discovered I had become a celebrity at school. One of the 5th grade teachers came into my classroom and told us that since we would be in 5th grade next year, we were eligible to be in the science club. The school district was sponsoring a science contest. Students could team up and work on their projects over the summer. The contest would be judged in the fall and the winners would be chosen. My school was hosting the contest. The students in the contest would create a flying machine. We all liked that. At lunchtime, my friend said discouraging words about me taking part in the science contest. Davy and I went to the science contest meeting, where I learned that the contest winners would be interviewed on TV. That made me even more excited. My team had Davy, Wayne, and 4 older boys on it. A bossy boy named Skip appointed himself as captain of my team. He told me to take notes. I made sketches of the boys' ideas for a flying machine. When Dad came home, there was a huge silver trailer attached to the car. He announced that we were going on a road trip to see the USA, and all us kids cheered. Davy told me that even though I'd miss our science team meetings, being in the trailer would give me good ideas about flying machines, and I happily agreed. We would be on the road for at least 3 weeks. Dad wanted us to take one last family road trip before Joan got married. We spent the next few days getting ready for our trip. Grandmom and Grandpa came up to take care of the house while we were gone. The night before we left, Grandma gave me a sketchbook I could use to draw pictures of what I saw on our trip. I decided to also draw my ideas for flying machines in it too. We were able to visit the Alamo on our trip, the home of Davy Crockett. I loved the Alamo. I sang a chow chow dog food jingle to call Scooter to dinner every night. It's to the tune of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. It goes like this: chow chow dog food, eat it up, and you'll be a happy pup. We just love that song, don't we, boy? Woof! Okay, now back to my story. On the 4th of July, I was sketching the fireworks I saw exploding in the sky. Watching the fireworks gave me an idea for the science contest. We make our own flying machine in parts, each part lifting the next part up so it would stay in the sky longer. Scooter, who was afraid of loud noises, burst out the screen door and disappeared into the dark night. I told Joan what happened, and we set out to find him. At one point, Joan's son somehow fell off the path, but don't worry, guys, I was able to rescue her with my belt. However, Joan did sprain her right ankle. I made a crutch for her, and we pressed on. As we walked, Joan told me she was questioning her decision to marry Jerry. She was questioning it for 2 reasons. 1, she couldn't cook, and 2, she wanted to travel and visit the places where her favorite writers lived. She also wanted to go to college and study the books they had written. I asked her if she felt like she had to choose between Jerry and college. I said maybe Jerry would want to travel with her, and Joan said she would ask him when we got home. Suddenly, we heard a twig snap beside the path and we got scared. Joan sang Scooter's Chow Chow dog food song and Scooter appeared. We were so relieved that we had found him. Luckily, Joan's ankle healed quickly. On my first day of 5th grade, I told my friends that I didn't think I could go join anything new since I had just joined the science club. They were sad that I was choosing the science club over hanging out with them. That afternoon after school, my siblings and I went to the beach. Joan told us that she wanted to get married in our backyard and celebrate with a little party, but she was afraid to tell Mom. I encouraged her to tell Mom by saying if something is right for you, then you should do it, even if it didn't make sense to other people. Joan spoke to Mom about how she felt, and she and Jerry were married in our backyard. It was a beautiful and relaxed wedding. Joan said it was exactly what she wanted. My friends apologized to me for how they had talked to me about being a member of the science club. At first, I couldn't get the boys on my science club team to listen to my idea. When I was finally able to show them, Skip told me my idea stunk. I gathered up my stuff. Davy defended me, and we walked out the door together with Wayne. The next morning, I told my friends what happened. My friends said they would help me make my flying machine and help me fly it at the contest. I invited Davy and Wayne to help us too, and they immediately agreed. At our science club meeting, I explained our project to everyone. We would blow up 3 balloons, attach a kite to the middle balloon, clip the side balloons shut, and use a rubber band to shut the middle balloon and connect it to the side balloons. When we were ready to launch it, we would unclip the 2 side balloons and they would take off. When they deflated, the rubber band would fall off, so the middle balloon took off. And when it started to descend, the kite would slow its fall, like a parachute does. Everyone liked my plan. We called ourselves the Looney Balloonies. It took hours and hours of experimenting and improving and trying again and again. When we were all so tired and discouraged that we were about to quit and go home, we finally got our project right. We were all ready to go. Our balloon-powered tissue paper kite flying machine works perfectly. Now, we did not win the science contest, but we did win a special creativity prize. The newspaper photographer that took my picture with the mayor at the Memorial Day parade was there, and he remembered me. The TV camera was pointed at me, and the TV reporter was holding his microphone up to me. I was asked my name and why I was in the parade. I hesitated shyly. My friends spoke for me. I was able to answer when I was asked what the most important idea I learned from the contest was. I had learned that different is good. Just because an idea is not what people expect, you still should not ignore it. And the best ideas come when you're not trying to be like everybody else. The most important thing that a teen needs to do to succeed is to listen to each other, because every idea and every person deserves respect. They showed the footage of me being interviewed on TV that night on the news. Seeing myself on TV was even better than what I had dreamed about for so long, because I was not on TV as an imaginary character in an imaginary episode of an imaginary adventure. I was on TV because I was my own true regular self. I was who I am, the one and only Maryellen Larkin. Well, everyone, this concludes my story. Thank you for watching it, and I hope you all enjoyed it. Bye-bye. This story was taken from the American Girl books about Maryellen Larkin.